How are you guys doing today? I'm back at it, back making another video, and today I'm showing you guys the step-by-step process of making a bow. I'm definitely not a pro at this. I just enjoy it. I built one or two bows and I've learned a lot, and it's definitely a process you don't want to rush your first time, especially if you're using hand tools and doing things kind of by eye. So bear with me and we'll get started on this bow. All right, for tools, I have a chainsaw file for the notches. This is a wood file. I can't remember what size it is, but it's about probably 7 or 8 inches. And then I have an old antique draw knife. The modern stuff, unless you want to spend a lot of money, is not that good. I would recommend going to an antique shop and getting one of those old ones. I paid about $30 or $40 for this. You can find some on eBay. I also went and picked up a little hatchet at one of my Lowe's or something, and this one's a little bit too heavy. If I was going to do it again, I would get a carpenter's hatchet or something a little bit lighter, because this is a little too heavy if you swing it a lot. Also consider getting a saw of some sort, just so you can cut the stave. I also have a ruler and a pencil and a little tape measure to help measure out some stuff. The length of the stave from end to end is about 63.5 inches, give or take, maybe 64 if you want to count that little edge. Yeah, it's not that long. I'm about 5'11", give or take, and that means I'm about 72 inches. So, like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be about your height. Like I said, people have been using these for thousands of years. It's pretty hard to mess up. People make small bows and stuff. You'll be fine. Ideally, though, you do want to pick a stave that has little to no knots and the grain is running straight up and down. Mine started curving at the bottom, so I'm not sure how that'll go. Might have a little bit of twist, might have to steam it at the end. We'll see. I'll have to work around these knots a little bit. Maybe you have to be kind of careful and leave a little bit of extra growth around them, so it might kind of make the bow look a little bit weird, but it's okay. It's not going to seriously mess up the bow. It will still probably function. The first step you want to do is using the draw knife and kind of taking off all the bark. Take off the bark. You can use a hatchet, whatever you want to use, and just get started by that. And then at that point, you want to measure out the bow shape. So for me, I found the middle after I found the overall length. I used a string. I tied a string to the end and I brought it all the way down, and I kind of roughed out a straight line. And then from there, I found the middle, measured up about 2 inches up, 2 inches down, and then from that I measured out about 2.5 inches, and that's the fade. That's where the bow's going to go from the handle and expand out. And as you can see, so it altogether should be about 9 inches between this distance. From there, from at the middle, you want to keep it about 1 inch until these fades. At the fade right up here on this last mark, you measure about 3/4 of an inch to each side, and then I tend to like to hold that until the last 10.5, 11 inches from the top, and then I kind of crunch it back in. At the top up here, you want to measure out about 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch from each side, and this is where you're going to do the nocks. So from the 10 inches or 11 inches or whatever from the tips, you want to kind of mark that, and then slowly use a ruler or something and kind of get a straight line. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you can kind of just rough it out and eyeball it. I like to leave a little bit of extra room just so I can remeasure as I get closer in when I'm finishing up, and then I'll kind of play with it and get a finer, more refined measuring, because it's kind of hard to write for me on these bows, but it's not that hard, guys. You can do a lot, and it's a fun little project. It just takes a little bit of time. If you have actual power tools and equipment, it can go by really quick. This is just some green hackberry that was gifted to me. It's been kind of drying for about 6-7 months, so we'll see if I can get through these knots and get that little bend out at the end, so bear with me. As you can see, I already took the bark off, and I already measured out all this stuff. So I'm gonna start, put you guys on the tripod, and I'm just gonna kind of cut through it with the axe and chip away until I get closer to the frame or the design where I have it drawn out. So should be a pretty fun project. I'm not gonna fast forward through anything, and this is gonna be broken up. This is gonna be broken up into, I don't know how many parts, but it's gonna be a little mini series. So I hope you guys enjoy and stay with me. Okay, so I'm gonna do this standing up to start, and then once it thins down, I'll kind of get more protective of it. So I just like to get the hatchet, and I like to kind of lean it towards me, keep my feet kind of wide, so if I miss, it's going through my legs. And if you're gonna be working on this all in one setting or doing a lot in one day, I recommend wearing some leather gloves. I personally have to go to work later, so I will be coming back to this every few days, just in between my shifts. So yeah, just keep that in mind, protect your hands. And the idea is you want to keep this face round. This is going to be the back of the bow, and this is going to be the belly. So you try to take off only from the sides and the belly. You never really want to take off too much from the back, because this is where all your structural support's going to be. That's why if you build a board bow, you have to back it with something. I made the mistake of building a board bow, and I didn't back it with anything, and I tried to put a string on it, it snapped it. I don't know if I can recover that bow, but I am going to try to do another one. And I am going to leave about a ½ inch or so between my line and the wood I'm chopping, just to, I can come back with a draw knife or something more accurate and kind of remove that more delicately than this. Don't want to start removing material from the bow. Alright, so you get the point of me kind of whittling it down. I'll bring it a little bit closer to show you guys what I've done just in that few minutes. You can see my lines roughly, I believe. Bring it a little bit closer. So I got about ½ inch on most of this, so I'm just gonna continue this down this whole side, and I'm gonna rotate this facing me and kind of do the same thing on the other side. It goes by pretty quick. It is a little bit of an arm workout, but that's the fun in it. I enjoy the whole process. So I cut myself. See, like I said, gloves can be nice because you can get a little bit of a splinter, but yeah. I'll show you guys what it's like when I get it as close as I want to with the hatchet. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. Okay, so I used the hatchet as much as I really wanted to. I'll probably have to go back and get some of the edges a little bit and just take my time. But since I'm on kind of crunch for time today, I'm gonna just move on since I got most of it and just show y'all what the draw knife does. I don't have a draw horse, or I don't know if that's the right term, but the little tables that people use, and they can like clamp the wood in between, and then they can just pull the draw knife towards them. I don't have that. So instead, I have to be creative. I basically sit on a bucket. I brace this I flex it against my abs, or kind of in my stomach, and I push it up against concrete or the wall. Keep friction, and that allows me to turn it and kind of keep it from bouncing around. So I'll show you what I mean. I can get pretty good curls and good wood removal. Obviously with the draw knife, don't get too carried away, because first off, this is still sharp, and if you pull too hard, you might cut yourself. I've seen it happen. Second, it removes a lot of material very quickly. So if you take a big heap because you're trying to rush, the chances are you might get a little bit deeper, and now you have to even everything out, and it could mess up your build. Just take your time, don't rush, and just be mindful. If you catch yourself rushing or trying to hurry up, just put the project aside and come back at a different time, because in my experience, if you're rushing and not being patient, you're probably going to mess up the project. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see it that good, but here's the wood. On the back side, I can see my design or outline. So I push up against it, kind of brace it with my knees, and I kind of see if there's any rough spots, and you just use the draw knife and you kind of, I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me lower you guys a little bit. Okay, that's a little bit better. So you can kind of, I'm kind of getting stuck at this top part because I need to come back with the hatchet. But as you can tell, it makes a nice, smooth, kind of flat plane, like it's like you bought it at the store. So obviously this is easier with other tools, but this is all I got. So just gonna remove some areas. And I still like to leave a little bit, like maybe a quarter inch or less, just before the outline, just in case. So if you're doing some planning or anything later on in the final, more finishing steps, it doesn't mess with you that bad. You won't destroy or mess up your bow. So And I'll set you guys out a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. The negative to my method is towards the end, you're kind of reaching a little bit far. But try to keep it linear. Like some people will rush and they'll try to, get from the side all hard, and all that does is create, it rounds it. So if you just keep it, try to keep material like flat, like you bought it from the store. Or like it's been planed already. And when I get close to the edge, I'm not taking big cuts. I'm just kind of getting little curls. See, that was too much. See, I saved it. I got a little too close to the edge, but I kind of took my time, and it's right at the edge, so I'm not gonna mess with that area anymore. Maybe the side of it, just to level it out, but I'm not gonna remove anymore. I'll take mental note of that and do smaller removal over here. And then just level it out. This one needs more at the top. So all right. And I didn't realize how much of the other area needs a little bit of TLC. So let's move on to the back. When you get this close, like I'm pretty close to some of these lines, you just take those little baby curls, I'm not trying to take big, deep curls of wood. I feel like half of woodworking, especially if you're using hand tools, they're pretty inefficient, is just listening to the wood and observing. Not even listening, but just watching it. Like, what's it telling you, you know? I love the color of hackberry. It's a nice yellow, it's so smooth. And when you get smooth like this, it's just so pretty. And I just love it. There's some Osage in my area, but I'm having trouble kind of sourcing it without having to pay money for it. Because a lot of these are hedgerow. People use them as hedgerows in the past, and now people have them on their properties. But I actually was supposed to get some Osage. There was a lightning struck a branch, and I saw it at one of the parks, and I called the city up, and the city was telling me, like, oh, they called me back, but I missed the call, and I called them back, and they didn't answer my call. And what ended up happening is they mulched that branch. And even though I called them, I really wanted to just take it, but I didn't want to get any trouble or anything. So next time, I'll tell them not to mess with it unless I'm there. If there is a next time. It was kind of frustrating. Just I was the one who called them about it. They didn't even know about the branch. I could have used that, made a nice bow. Notice what I'm doing with my sorry, I'm out of breath. I'm trying to think of this name. With my draw knife. So on this edge, instead of me just trying to take big things from the middle, I'm getting the edge and I'm kind of coming at an angle. And I'm just brushing it towards the edge to prevent taking too much material. And what you can do is you can kind of come at an angle, correct it if there's any bump, and what you're left with is this nice smooth area. So I'm just taking small little curls just because I'm getting pretty close. And these are, then after we get done with doing this on both sides, and me coming back and doing these top parts, we flip this over on the belly and we kind of do the same thing and get it to about, I want to say 3/8 of an inch thickness from the back to the current end. I'm gonna have to remove, so on this it's brown. I personally don't like to remove this little layer. A lot of people say you got to remove it to the thickness of the first layer, where it's like a continuous layer of wood. And I think you can do that, but I don't think you have to. So what I'm gonna do is I like to leave it and give myself a little bit of room, so my 3/8 becomes a little bit thicker. And once I get the outline of it, you don't really need this outline a whole lot. So once I do this, it's like, what's the point? I can just remeasure. I think the idea is just to make sure everything's still relatively straight, but you can still remeasure that. It's not a huge deal. I just use it for the basic stuff of getting the bow shape, the basic bow shape kind of done. But to each their own. Everyone has their own way of doing it. I learned how to do this. A lot of people ask, how do you learn how to do all this stuff? I said YouTube, books. I like to read. Going to college, being forced to read 50 pages a night, 100 pages a week for multiple classes kind of ruins reading for you. So as soon as I graduated, I made sure one of the things I brought back was reading, because there's so much good information and it teaches you so much. And there's definitely a disparity from the information you can get online, because I feel like everyone online is trying to make a quick buck. No one's really trying to teach you a whole lot, but obviously there's some exclusions to that rule. I just feel like a lot of people are trying to sell you something online, or they're like, oh, we'll teach you this, but you have to, buy our online course. But I get it, everyone's trying to make money. I used to do the Amazon affiliate stuff, but yeah, I feel bad for the people who are watching this thinking it's an ASMR. I mean, it could be. I'm not being super loud. You can hear the birds chirping, but I like to chat sometimes. I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's what I've done. And I still got all that, and obviously it takes some time. I think I got both these sides relatively good. Don't gotta be perfect. Yeah, some of these areas still need a little bit more hatchet work. Getting pretty close. Yeah, that whole area. All right, so now I got as much done as I can right now, and I'm gonna flip it and go back to do some hatchet work. Once I get back done, I'll show you guys what it looks like after I get that all cleaned up, and we'll see how much I can actually do today. Because like I said, I do have to go to work, so stay tuned for that. Okay, now I've got it pretty much squared out. You can start seeing that twist at the bottom. I'm just gonna treat it like it's regular wood on the back, and like I said, you can either steam it or use a heat gun, and it's starting to feel real nice. And then, so I'm gonna probably leave. So now we're almost to the final step of thinning down the back from this side. I like to use as a reference for me about a pinky. So since this, I'm taking this off at the end, I'm gonna use my pinky nail as a reference and then draw a line the whole way up and down. Maybe you could even, if you wanna be, if you're following this and you wanna make your own bow, you can just do a half inch, about a half an inch or more. Just leave excess so you can kind of take your time with it, because I don't count this brown layer as a layer of wood. So we're gonna give a little bit excess, and then we'll come down. And when you start getting down to this little area and you're getting close to your goal, that's when you want to break out the file and just file away. It'll take a lot of time, but you don't want to mess it up at that stage because you did all that work. So yeah, the bow's starting to take shape. Looks pretty cool. Okay, and here's what it looks like so far. I'm going to stop. This is going to be the end of part 1. We got a good portion of it done. Now we just get to do the fun stuff, which is removing the back and kind of cleaning it up a little bit. So this should be maybe a 2 or 3 part section. I think I'm going to do tillering in a part of its own because it's very tedious, and I am not a master of tillering. There's many different ways to do it. There's a lot of easier ways, but I do everything kind of minimalistic. I don't have a whole workshop where I can do have the whole thing where you hang it up and you pull it with the string and it's got the weight. I don't have the space for that, so there's other options, and I'll show some of those in the future videos. But thanks for watching. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you are enjoying the process. It's definitely a fun process. You can start from anywhere, and yeah, make sure you hit that notification bell if you're interested in staying in touch with this series, and consider subscribing and liking and commenting for other video ideas. We've got some cool stuff coming out in the future. It's just finding the time to do it all. But yep, see you guys next time.